Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really crucial, but honestly, often misunderstood topic, the Prison Rape Elimination Act, or PREA for short. We're going to zoom in specifically on New Jersey to see how a massive law passed in Washington actually translates to real daily safety inside state correctional facilities. Because, it's one thing to write a rule on paper, it's a whole different ballgame to actually make it work behind bars.
Bureaucratic frameworks can definitely seem a bit dense, but we've got a really clear path forward today. We're going to cover understanding the PREA mandate, the core federal requirements, inside New Jersey's compliance framework, the power of outside oversight, and finally, why PREA compliance actually matters. Section 1. Understanding the PREA mandate. Let's start with a macro-level view.
So what actually is PREA? Well, at its core, it's a federal baseline. Its entire design is to prevent, detect, and respond to sexual abuse and harassment for folks housed in confinement settings. The big goal here is to drastically reduce the risk of victimization across jails, prisons, and juvenile facilities nationwide.
And what's really fascinating here is that PREA compliance isn't just some side issue or, a dusty binder sitting on a shelf. In the corrections world, this is a daily operational necessity. It directly impacts state prisons, the staff, contractors, volunteers, and, most importantly, the people actually in custody.
Section 2, the core federal requirements. Let's take a look at these mandates. To move this from policy to practice, a facility has to check off a really rigorous list of requirements. They've got to prove a clear zero-tolerance policy, give incarcerated people multiple ways to report concerns, and fiercely protect them from retaliation. But it goes even further, mandating immediate medical access, comprehensive training for absolutely everyone walking through those doors, and regular independent audits to make sure these aren't just empty promises.
Inside the facility, all of this relies on 3 operational pillars. First up is staff readiness through intense training. Second involves critical housing decisions through risk screening, basically keeping vulnerable people away from potential abusers. And third, well, it's the ultimate test, the response. Because think about it. If medical care is delayed or retaliation gets ignored, the whole system just collapses.
Section 3, inside New Jersey's compliance framework. Let's explore how compliance works over in New Jersey. New Jersey's Department of Corrections uses a highly structured system to tackle all this. They actually assign specific institutional PREA compliance managers at every single facility. And remarkably, they accept almost any type of report, from the individuals themselves, third parties, in writing, verbally, or even totally anonymously. Plus, the most serious allegations are immediately routed out for criminal investigation.
New Jersey's framework explicitly emphasizes creating safe, confidential ways for people to report harm. The absolute key phrase here is without fear of retaliation. I mean, if asking for help puts someone in even more danger, then the system is fundamentally flawed, right? Now, the absolute heartbeat of this compliance framework is a strict 3-year audit cycle. After all, a policy is only as good as its checkups. These recurring audits are the primary way the state system gets tested against those really rigorous federal standards.
Because these public audits happen on a recurring basis, they provide a literal window into real-life operations for families, attorneys, and the public. But there's a crucial nuance we need to mention. Just having audits doesn't automatically mean every facility is perfect. What it does mean is that the state is actively participating in a process to find the gaps and actually fix them. Section 4, the power of outside oversight. Let's examine the role of independent review. New Jersey tackles the massive hurdle of underreporting through a multi-layered approach. They balance internal facility paths, like those compliance managers we mentioned, with totally independent external resources, like the Office of the Corrections Ombudsman. Reports to the Ombudsman are confidential, they can be anonymous, and they even link folks to outside emotional support. And this matters immensely. One of the absolute biggest barriers to PREA compliance anywhere is underreporting. If people fear retaliation or just distrust the staff, they're going to stay silent. So providing outside, confidential channels can quite literally make the difference between suffering in silence and a life-saving intervention. What makes New Jersey's approach really stand out is their emphasis on transparency. They actually post their PREA information, the annual victimization reports, and those audit reports right there on their official websites. It sends a really strong signal. PREA isn't some internal secret meant to be swept under the rug. It's a matter of clear, public accountability. Section 5, Why PREA Compliance Matters. Let's zoom out and look at the broader impacts. Ultimately, PREA is not just a prison issue.
When a facility has clear reporting and well-trained staff, it directly boosts staff safety and institutional order. It lowers massive litigation risks. But at a much higher level, it's really about public trust. It's a foundational piece of the entire state's credibility and safety infrastructure.
Now, while New Jersey presents a highly structured, zero-tolerance system on paper, we have to recognize that public documents don't eliminate the need for constant monitoring. PREA compliance is an ongoing, everyday obligation. It's never just a simple checkbox. The truth test is whether these protections actually function for everyone across all facilities year after year. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought regarding the gap between public documents and everyday reality. If a policy exists beautifully on paper, but reporting fails in practice due to fear or a lack of response, is that facility truly compliant? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking the tough questions, and I'll catch you next time.